Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, a massive SEC matchup slated on the Week 4 slate as Auburn heads on the road to Texas A&M, which feels like, from the optics, a must-win for Jimbo Fisher. I mean, this is Hugh Freeze, year one, kind of rebuilding this Auburn program. And he goes on the road and takes care of Jimbo Fisher. You're going to start hearing the cries for Jimbo Fisher's job a little bit louder, as if you haven't already heard him pretty loud. Excited to get into this one. Some kind of key matchups that I want to get into. Now, before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. The support you guys have shown the boys throughout these game previews truly does mean a lot. So one, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. But more importantly, let us know in the comment section how you guys are feeling about this matchup. The best part about doing this is talking ball with you guys, learning from you guys in the comment section. So appreciate you guys rocking with us. Like you do, Dill, I'm going to give you the T-box here. Auburn heading on the road to Texas A&M. How we feeling here?
And you mentioned, like, not only this game, but this SEC schedule is crucially important, I think, for Jimbo. And
Yep.
not just like, yeah, his job, whatever. I mean, who knows with the buyout, but just the overall confidence in the operation. I mean, this team is so talented. It's been talented. And the SEC is kind of open right now.
Gettable.
Again, Alabama is not the team we thought they were going to be. LSU, I do think, is very good still, but I don't think they're that juggernaut, like unbeatable team. Like, oh well, if you lose to them, it's fine. They're great. I mean, this A&M team should be good enough to challenge anyone. And with the SEC the way it is, I really think they got to have a good performance for people just to stay on board in any sense.
And we always talk about, I mean, it's like clockwork to start the season. Like, this Texas A&M team is talented enough to bang with anybody in the country. It's just like, can you limit the penalties? Can you limit the turnovers? Can your secondary tackle? Those are the questions. And if they clean it up, again, this is one of the most dangerous teams in the country. Now, one of the key matchups I kind of want to get into is, where is Texas A&M most vulnerable on the defensive side of the ball? Because quite frankly, that front seven, especially against the run, has been pretty solid, especially against Miami. Where did they get beat? They got beat through the air, especially tackling in the secondary. That's where I kind of have my question marks for Auburn. And I don't doubt that Hugh Freeze eventually, once he gets his quarterbacks and his wide receivers in, like, is going to figure out this passing attack. But so far, through the first three games, you haven't had a ton of optimism about pushing the ball down the field. And can Texas A&M do that, or can Auburn do that against the Texas A&M team, where that's probably where they're vulnerable? It is probably the biggest matchup in this game.
And that's gonna be the fear, because frankly, coming into it, you probably thought similar things about Miami, who the year before, yeah, their offense really couldn't do much. The passing attack was brutal, but they had the talent, at least you kind of thought. That's kind of the question to me with Auburn is it's just looked very choppy, especially in that Cal game where that was really the only real defense they played. I will say it got better in the fourth quarter, and it did
Yes.
start to get a little bit of rhythm, and they were using guys like Rivaldo Fairweather and Fair and guys who look like they started to emerge as the guys they need to get the football to with a little more consistency. So again, if they can build on that a little bit, in some of these guys who again, talented guys out of the transfer portal who you just maybe haven't quite seen blossom yet, if they can make a couple plays, yeah, you're right. That's really the only real sense I see this team being able to beat A&M on offense, because you're right. That front seven for A&M is just playing so well.
And I wonder if Auburn, because that is part of that's part of this Auburn identity, is running the football. They've been pretty effective. They got a couple really good running backs. Jaquez Hunter kind of starting to get back to form. Damari Allison has been a nice surprise. Brian Batty, like they're loaded up front. The offensive line that I'm still waiting to kind of click. I think it's much improved from last year, which I don't think is saying much. That being said, the Auburn offensive line solid. They have some running backs. But you're right, it's going to be kind of tough sledding against a front seven for Texas A&M that is loaded, and they're starting to find their form. For me, Dill, like it gets down to, like, go find your playmakers. And I think you're starting to figure it out. Jay Fair is a guy that I know wasn't talked about in the offseason because he wasn't part of the transfer portal class, but he's emerged as that dude for Auburn. And then Rivaldo Fairweather, like, he needs more targets. He's a matchup nightmare at the catch point. He's elite. Can Hugh Freeze kind of dial it in? And Dale, I kind of want to throw this nugget in. Hugh Freeze in his press conference. I didn't know this until I listened to the press conference. Peyton Thorne would have been the first quarterback in Auburn history, I believe, to throw for 300 yards and run for 100 yards last week. He was 18 yards short throwing, threw for 282. Think about all the good quarterbacks Auburn's had, guys like Cam Newton. is an impressive staff for Peyton Thorne.
Yeah,
Maybe you're
and
feeling a little bit good about it.
that's all good fun, but you got to see it against like a team that's
Oh, you're a
in
party
the
pooper.
Auburn
That's
world. I
wild.
mean that's well, I mean, yeah, you can say it, but I've seen like JJ McCarthy at times at Michigan light it up against bad teams and then go play Illinois, can't move it at all. That'll be the question. And again, like I don't know. I don't know that I'm wildly confident about it. I think we'll need to see some things change. I do think Hugh Freeze is. I mean, if someone's going to change something up, it's
Oh,
him.
he's gonna Hugh Freeze is gonna figure out whether it's this Saturday, whether it's a couple Saturdays from now. Like this offense is gonna click.
He's
Hugh
always done a
Freeze
decent job of getting his like some of those Ole Miss teams didn't look like the team they were, and then they'd go play in Alabama and look really, really good, and they'd dial up some stuff that it just put a lot of teams under some pressure. So
and there
can
might be an element of just kind of like keeping stuff under the vest until I no doubt this game was circled. And as much as that Cal game was like, you probably needed to show some of that stuff in the fourth quarter that you didn't want to show. Like, no doubt they have some stuff that they've been saving for this game. Now, on the flip side, this Texas A&M team did not lose to Miami because of that offense. I think Connor Wigman is kind of asserting himself as that dude for Texas A&M, which the Aggie fans have been craving for, like a quarterback that you hit with, that you're getting the best out of. Connor Wigman's looked good, and he's throwing to, in my opinion, and hopefully the LSU fans aren't listening to this, probably the best wide receiving group in the SEC here.
Yeah, and Wigman's really stepped it up, and he looks whatever him, Petrino, and Jimbo have done this year to get him playing at a much higher level. They're doing it. What really impresses me is the ball's coming out very quick and it's on time. And you look, those two picks on the year, I don't really throw too heavily on Wigman. I mean, the one they had a wide receiver slip, and the other was just trying to make a play down big in the fourth quarter. He's playing a really clean football game, and what I like is decisive in getting the ball to playmakers, and they're doing their thing. I mean, you talk about it. Evan Stewart, great. I mean, he had a couple snafus in that Miami game, not getting the first down, and obviously that felt like I was addressed. But like these wide receivers and especially the running backs in the pass game are playing really well.
Yeah, that's the matchup I'm most excited for, is this wide receiver group that, again, I just said I think is the best in the SEC, going up against arguably the best secondary in the SEC with Auburn. I know they're down a few guys. Keontae Scott sounds like he's not going to play. That being said, like, you had a lot of guys come back who would have been NFL draft picks. DJ James, Nehemiah Pritchett, them matching up against a loaded Aggies wide receiver room with Noah Thomas and Nia Smith. That's going to be a really fun matchup. And the second thing that I'm kind of looking for Auburn on the defensive side of the ball, and this is a Texas A&M offensive line that we thought would take some steps. I don't know if we've totally seen these steps being taken yet. Auburn struggled getting pressure just with their front four from what I've seen. Hugh Freeze even said in his presser, can you dial something up to get Connor Wigman a little bit off his rhythm? Because right now, like when he has time and he's setting his feet and he's throwing balls, like those are darts. Can you kind of rattle him a little bit and get some pressures and maybe force some turnovers, which Auburn, 2.3 turnovers per game in this season through the first three. Like that could be a spot where you could maybe take advantage of this Texas A&M offense.
And that'll be interesting because I'm with you. I think this offensive line, I kind of wonder what the Aggies fans think, but I've been very disappointed. I mean, the fact that they really can't run the football against a Miami team that, again, you had some questions of their physicality up front. I mean, yeah, they have some talented players, but to really not be able to get more than 3 yards or so.
And it ain't the running backs. The running backs are awesome, I think.
Running backs are so good.
So what? Another thing I want to know with Auburn, fire up Eugene Asante. I think he's playing like one of the best linebackers in the SEC. So if you can get him coming off the edge or blitzing an A-gap, like I think he could. He's had a massive impact on all of these Auburn games. I expect him to be a playmaker in this Texas A&M game too. Dill, with all that being said, Auburn heading on the road, 7.5-point dogs. Where are we leaning here?
I honestly think I got A&M just because given like the day and age we are in, I don't think you can have a passing attack that is as choppy as what I think we've seen so far from Auburn. I mean, they really couldn't get anything going until like the end of the third quarter and into the fourth against Cal, who, again, I don't think that defense, it's obviously not nearly as talented. I don't know that it even plays at as high of a level as what A&M has coming in now. I struggle to see Auburn be able to do that just because of that passing attack. And I just don't see the running game like eating this team alive because they're just so good up front. I think Auburn can run the ball, as you mentioned. It's just that you can't rely on that solely without being able to bring a solid passing attack, and I'm just not sure they're there yet.
We haven't seen it yet, and that's kind of, and Auburn fans know how high I am on Hugh Freeze and what he's going to be able to do. I don't think it's quite there yet. I'm going to take Texas A&M in the points. Now, it's for me, like you said, where you wanted to attack this Texas A&M team, I think is in the secondary. Auburn hasn't showed that they can do that yet. So I'm taking Texas A&M too. And it really comes down to just the matchups where it's like, I just don't know if Auburn can test Texas A&M where they're kind of most vulnerable. And if you're asking me what quarterback and what offense I trust a little bit more, it's certainly Texas A&M.
I mean, you saw how good Van Dyke had to play against Texas A&M to move the football. Like,
That's
really
can I pause you for a sec? That is where I don't think people like give Miami enough credit. Like Tyler Van Dyke played an exceptional game, and I granted like Texas A&M missed some tackles, that's inexcusable. But we saw Tyler Van Dyke play about as good as you can play against that Texas A&M team. I feel like people just writing Texas A&M team as not a good team because they lost to Miami, which I think is a good team. Give me the Aggies here. Sorry, I cut you off there, but I just do think that's important because Miami really did play a very good game.
I mean, and Miami's a pretty like talented football team, and they kind of put it together. So I don't know that I feel like Auburn has that kind of game in them right now, especially at the quarterback spot, and that's my lean on.
We'll see though. Hugh Freeze is a gamer. Like he might find a play or two that he's hidden so far.
Those legendary wins against Alabama, like they'll live in lore forever. I think.
Yeah, 100%. This is a. I don't love betting against Hugh Freeze, but I think I'm going to take Texas A&M and Jimbo just from what you've seen so far. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. If you do enjoy the content, again, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.